Hello, I'm Jason Faust from the BrainJocks marketing team, and thanks for spending a few minutes with me getting to know our latest release, Score version 2.0, which is now generally available. Let's take a look at what Score 2.0 has to offer. Score 2.0 is Sitecore 8.1 ready. This release unifies existing Score features like page editor support for shared layout editing and MVC area support with new features available via Sitecore 8.1. BrainJocks is continuously expanding the number and variety of Score components. Score 2.0 includes a social sharing toolbar, advanced mapping, and a modal dialog, just to name a few. Let's take a look at the social sharing toolbar on our BrainJuice demo site. The new Add This Widget component allows you to easily add social sharing tools to your site in the Experience Editor. I've navigated to the Share page of the BrainJuice site. It already offers an Instagram feed, so social sharing is a great fit here. I'll go to the new Social section in the Score component library and select Add This Widget. The component is linked to my Add This account and will present whatever toolbar I have already configured there. And once the page is saved, you can immediately see in the Experience Editor how the LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook icons are going to render. While we're talking about components, let's touch on component styling. If you're a Score user, you've already had the ability to choose available style variants for a content component. Score 2.0 gives you even more flexibility in styling existing components. In the Experience Editor, you can now select styling variances for virtually every component, and that even includes structural, responsive grid components like page layout containers. Let's take a look at a container component on the BrainJuice site, and for this, we'll move to the Explorer page. I know our front-end developers added some styling variants to some of the containers on the Explorer pages that feature each country that make BrainJuice wine. This one-column page layout on the Argentina page is a responsive grid component, and if I open up component properties here, you can see that we now have multiple styling options. This component happens to be using the default container style, but let's jump down to the two-column wide left inner structure and look at component properties. You can see that the structure is styled with one of three custom options that our front-end developers provided. The goal here is to give the content team the option to select a wide left column layout that's actually wider than the typical standard Bootstrap configuration. Now, developers and content administrators have found it very helpful to use Score snippets as a reference, and this is perfect for when you want to capture a structure and content and share that to multiple pages or templates. It's really useful for something like a global header or footer, or a reusable sidebar, and I'm pleased to report you can still do that in Score. But with Score 2.0, you can also use snippets in a new way. Sometimes teams need to capture a common structure that's used in many places within the website, but each has its own content. Running a snippet as a macro recreates the snippet structure and copies the content into the local page. That means the content can now be edited and the structures changed within that page. Let's take a look at how running a snippet as a macro works. Let's say I want to add a page in the Explore section for a new market because BrainJuice is expanding the business. I want to show some of the same region information that's presented on the other market pages, but I also need to add a bit of content that's unique to this page specifically. Now, luckily, a content administrator already created a reference snippet that allows the region information section to be reused. Since I need to change the content in this rendering, it's a perfect opportunity to run the region information snippet as a macro. Let's place it in this two-column wide left inner structure here. The macro is in the content section of the Score library, so I'm going to choose that. Score then guides me in choosing an existing snippet to run. There's the region information that we want, and when we select that, Score places all the components that comprise the snippet, including the structure and content, onto the page. There's quite a bit to this one with highlights, content spots, style boxes, and a lead, so it would be hugely time-consuming to build it multiple times, but luckily, Score lets us reuse it. Now that the content is local to our page, it can be edited easily with no impact to the site's shared snippet. Let's say that the new market is Portugal. We want to change this generic header text here, and let's make just one change to the contents bar. Now, I'll save it. The latest Score release also introduces the Component Communication Framework, or CCF for short. CCF is a unique JavaScript framework that allows components to communicate with each other. It lets you break larger, more complex components like search into smaller independent components without having to hard code their interactions. Let's head back to BrainJocks to see CCF in action with product search. Now this is a great example of how an individual component can trigger actions in other components. Let's say I'm looking for something to bring to a dinner party next weekend. I'm on the shopping page of our wine site and have navigated to the product search. Now, I know this particular host loves Shiraz, so I'm going to search BrainJocks for that type of wine. With no filters set, the page starts off with a full selection. Now, I'm going to search. Notice how the results grid starts updating as I'm typing. That's the search box and the grid communicating. Now, I don't want to come across as cheap, so I'll look for a bottle that's mid-priced, like the $50 to $80 range. And as you can see, as I select that price facet, the results grid updates again to show only wines that meet both criteria. Now I'm down to 2 possible bottles. I could choose another facet from what's still available, like perhaps where the wine originates, and the results will update again. I confess I'm a giant fan of Chilean wine, so now we are down to just one option. And there is a lot more to CCF, like modular JavaScript loading and component isolation, that sadly we don't have time to dig into in this short video. If you'd like more details, you can find it in the Score developer documentation. The highlights I've shared with you today are definitely just that. There is much more to Score 2.0 than I can show you in this quick introduction. If you'd like a more complete overview or details on any of the latest Score enhancements, please visit the web page you see here. You'll find a live link in the description of this video, and thank you for watching.